Hello, how you doing, my kings and queens? I'm back with another video. I am your host. What I would like to say is with the notary signing age, I'm going to tell you a little bit of everything so you can have an idea what you're getting yourself into so you can know what you're signing for without further ado, let's get to it. The first thing is first, I recommend that you practice, because that can help you save money. Maybe you might not need to sign up for the NNA, National Notary Association. Maybe you can create your own loan mark sign your own mark loan signing sessions. You could do so on your own. If you still want to do the NNA workshop, because you might need the NNA anyway, because you had to take the test, because they're not going to just give you the certification if they think you don't know what you're doing. Therefore, I recommend that you do several loan signings on your own, the pretend loan signings on your own merit. You could do the HELOC, that's Home Equity Loan of Line of Credit. I said loan of credit, but it's the same thing though. Then you have the reverse mortgage, you have the refinance mortgage, you have the purchase package or buyer's package, then you have the seller's package. A lot of veteran or seasoned notaries, sign agents say that the hello lock, I don't like to say the H word, and seller's package, that's the shortest loan signings. While the reverse mortgage, the refinance mortgage, and the purchase mortgage, those are the longest loan signings because it can run anywhere from 100 to 150 and even 200 pages, especially for the reverse mortgage. And what you got to keep in mind too is you got to be patient with some of the buyers too, because they read through every line and they may ask you the same questions and they might create for. You just have to be patient and tolerant. I know it might be a little annoying, a little frustrating, but it's their money and you're getting paid too. So that's why I recommend that you practice. And then they may have kids that might ask you questions by saying, "What is a hello lock?" You have to be prepared to maybe explain to them. But if you don't want to, that's your discretion, that's your protocol, that's your prerogative. But you get them a summary or example too. For example, Hello Lock is, as you know, the home equity line of credit. That's where you use your home for collateral or as a big credit card. To make it easy to get it out the way so you can start doing the session, you can just say, use your home as a credit card to help pay for expenses, renovations to fix your home. Let's say your home is worth $500,000, but the mortgage is $200,000. So you have $300,000 line of credit you can use. You might could use $100,000 to repair your home. Well, you ask the bank if you can borrow $100,000, especially if your credit is good too, because the bank is not going to just let you borrow that type of money. But if you're in good standing with your bank, you can ask them if you could loan $100 or so. So that's the definition of home equity line of credit and an example. So you have to, and then another thing you can do too is you can create your own loan signing documents. Once again, you can create the home equity line of credit. You can create your purchase package. You can create your seller's package. You can create your reverse mortgage. You can create your refinance. You can create those five documents. Those are the five loan signings that signing agent will will go through, will experience at the closure. But you can create your own mark loan signing documents. It doesn't have to be to the T. You could create it on Word. You could put the title, for example, home equity line of credit, refinance, mortgage, reverse mortgage, the seller package, the buyer's package. You can put that on top of the Word document. Then you could say, this is where the signing agent signs. I know this is where the buyer or seller signs, and this is where you will sign or stamp. You could you can create it on Word document. And it can be a blank sheet of paper if you want to. Once again, let the title be at the top, what type of mortgage this is, and at the bottom, the patient, your client, the buyer will sign and date at the bottom. And what you do is you can say sign at the very bottom of the slide or sign at the middle. You got to be specific because the lender might want you to go back either the same day or the next day. I don't want it to create a headache or a frustrating experience. But even the best notary sign agent might go back at least once or twice in their career. Another thing you can do to make it easy for you when you have your first loan signing, um, whether it's any type of loan signing, whether it's the home equity line of credit, the reverse mortgage, the refinance mortgage, the seller package or the buyer's package, you have to you can put a sticky note on the documents by saying please sign here. Uh, and this is preparation too. This can help you not to overlook certain details. This will help you to be meticulous or scrupulous and pay attention to details. So you can put a sticky note of where to sign for the seller, the buyer, and for yourself. So you don't overlook anything. And this will help you to alleviate going back and forth. Because then you have to keep in mind too, when you go back and forth, that's money that you have to spend on gas. So you don't want to have to waste gas. What I recommend that you do too is you can watch how a loan signing is. A mock loan signing is for all the five types of loan signings from pro proficient loan signing agents. After you watch that, do you do your own loan signing? But make sure you do all five loan signings so you can get a feel of it. This will create your experience. This will create your confidence. And another thing too is if you're new to being a loan signing agent too, sometimes you might have to eat a couple bucks. Meaning, if it's a shorter loan signing, it's the Hello Lock or the sales package. That's anywhere from 15, 20, or 50 pages for both type of signings. They may want to pay you $50 or $60. I know that might seem low ball, and ridiculously low, but look at it as practice money. Because you're still new to this. When you become true to this, then you can demand that you get paid no less than $80 or $85. Because even with the home equity line of credit and the seller's package, you still have to prep the paper. You have to drive out there to meet the clients, the buyer or the seller. You have to meet them. You have to put the work in. And this is another thing too. You got to be prepared to put the work in. It's going to be diligent, but it'll be worth your while. Therefore, eat a couple of the sessions, even if they do a reverse mortgage or refinance mortgage or the mortgage, purchase mortgage and a buy mortgage. They're basically the same thing. But if they want to pay you 70 or $80, I know that's pushing it close. But once again, you're new to this. When you become new and know what you, when you become true to this and know what you're doing and become seasoned and veteran, then you can start saying that I can't go anywhere less than I won't accept anything less than $100, or you can say your fee is between $100 to $150, especially if it's a reverse mortgage. If it's a reverse mortgage, uh, tell them that, but be kind about it. That you expect nothing less than $150 because the reverse mortgage might be even bigger than the refinance mortgage and the purchase mortgage. So you say your fee for the reverse mortgage is $150, while the refinance mortgage and the buyer's mortgage could be between $100 and $150, if that makes sense, because the reverse mortgage might be up to 200 pages. And you have to keep in mind too when you get work from, you might start out new with the sign-in service, and when you get more comfortable, then you can work your way toward the title service. But the signing service, this is usually where the route that rookies go. But once again, with the signing service, I just want to let you know this is how the signing service works. They're the middleman. They get the money from the title company, then they pay you. So the title company might pay the sign service $300. Then the sign service they'll pay you, uh, if you knew, maybe $80 or $70, depending on any type of signing session it could be. But when you get your foot wet, when you get your foot in the door, and you know your worth and know that you're good at what you do, that you're one of the best notaries out there in the world, then you could say, I can't accept nothing less than $100, $125, $150, because you give quality work, that you really make a mistake. You have a good track record. You're comfortable with the clients are comfortable with you. You're established rapport. You're easy to talk to. You're respectable. You're professional. You're selling yourself too, and that's another thing too. You sell yourself because you're giving yourself an interview too, and when you're new too, you might apply for 100 different types of sign-in services, and when you get the 100 sign-in services, I mean, when you apply for the 100 sign-in services, it's similar to you applying for 100 different jobs. It's similar to you shaking the tree into one of the apples fall. So I recommend that you apply for 100 different types of sign-in services. I, I assure you that maybe in a couple of days or a week, several sign services will want to do business with you. And speaking of getting your foot out there, you have to have headshots too, for the notary Google Business and LinkedIn. I have a headshot where you're in your dress up clothes. Uh, you can do it so on your own as well. But if you want your photographer to give you professional headshots, you can do so. But please be prepared to pay the photographer maybe $80 or $100. But if you want to do it on your own, you could. You can use your cell phone. You can You can use your cell phone. Just make sure that the picture is not blurry. That's legible. But that's a way where you can spread the word that you are an official, licensed, certified uh, sign-in agent. Because people, they may want to do work with you, because a lot of people don't have headshots, because they look at the headshots as you care about your appearance, you care about your profession, you care about your line of work, you care about not just what you do, but care about creating the most um, professional environment for the clients and for the title services and sign services. And another thing too, speaking of sign services and title services too, you had to do the scan bag, scan back, where you had to scan the documents before you send it to the lender or escrow. They'll want you to do so right after the closing session has been completed. You can use your cell phone for the to scan your documents, especially if it's a hello lock or if it's a seller package, if it's a refinance or if it's a reverse mortgage or the purchase package, the buyer's package, then you might have to use a scanner because the documents are a lot longer. And another thing too is know how to print on both sides of the paper, because I can save you a lot of paper. But listen to the lender escrow officer too, because they're gonna give you a package of collection. They're gonna give you direction instructions of whether they want the document to be both sides or one sided. But for the most part, they probably want you to do both sides. Know how to print both sides. And another thing too is you give the buyer a copy of the document so they can know what they're signing. And while you are letting them sign and you are stamping and signing, they can look through the documents. But you can have the documents closed, or the extra copy for the buyer closed. So they can look at the documents later on. But if it's two buyers, then you, if, me and the husband or and wife, they'll get a copy too. This is where you might have to print out 400 or 500 pages for the reverse mortgage, the uh, purchase mortgage, the refinance mortgage. You have to print out, once again, assess 400, 500 pages. You have to do so ASAP. It's doable, it's practice. It's doable, it's probable, but you have to practice. I decided to move to another more comfortable environment. Welcome to my office. Come in my office for a minute. Where was I? Another thing I would like to say as a loan signing agent is, to know the terms. Because here's the thing: you can be ready to be a loan signing agent and to start signing the documents and helping people move into their property and home. But if you don't know the terms, it doesn't mean a thing. It's similar to you know how to drive, but you can't read the signs, and you can still fail the test by not properly reading the signs, the yield signs, or parking. For example, parking, you can't park between 4 a.m. to 10 a.m. If you don't heed to those simple instructions, then you may not get your license or you may not pass the test. It's the same thing for notary signing agent. You have to know as much of the terms as possible. You don't have to be 100%, but at least 90 to 95%. So you don't have any surprises. Therefore, you don't have to hear people's mouth and say, "Oh, you don't know that." Whether it's the lender, the escrow, the realtor, or even the buyer or seller. You understand? So you always want to be on your A game, your A plus game. What I recommend that you do is have index cards of order terms. Know about encroachment or know about easement. Easement and encroachment, they're basically the same thing, but with easement, it's you crossing somebody's property line. Encroachment, you're crossing somebody's property line, but you building um, a shed on the person's property line. Know about eminent domain. Know about gentrification. Know about inflation. Know about customer acquisition costs, even though that's from Shark Tank, but you never know. Know about perpetuity. Know about that term, even though that's from Shark Tank. You never know because you might see those terms on the test, on the National Notary Association test. Once again, whatever terms you come across, business terms, money making terms, put it on an index card. And no difference about embroider and your notary seal. Embroider, notary seal, they basically do the same thing, but the embroider, that's really for signing agents, and your notary stamp is for basic notary. You can have both, but if I had to choose between the two, maybe get your embroider. And the embroider, it looks similar to a stapler, but it's a seal. It's a steel version of a stamp. Fancy version of saying a notary stamp or signing agent stamp. So once again, the embroider is for really the signing agent, and your stamp is for the notary. Know the difference between those two. But once again, get the embroider. But if you want to get both, it doesn't hurt. Because here's the thing, the embroider might be good, but your notary stamp might run out. So if one runs out, you still have an extra stamp available. You always have a stamp to last you for 10 years. So you might get the embroider for 5 years. You might get the notary sealed for another 5 years. So you have 10 years of notary stamp you can use. See how smart I am? See, that's genius for you. Also, get a EO insurance, because if you make costly mistakes, you don't have to worry about the buyer or seller taking you to court. That will be your insurance. That'll cover you for $100,000. You might could get more. You might have to pay some money for the embroider. I mean, I talked about embroider for the EO insurance. That's your best friend if you make any costly mistakes. For example, maybe you might have overlooked a paperwork and you forgot to let the uh, buyer or seller sign that document. Then their closing wasn't completed, and them getting the property was delayed. Get your LLC too. You might have to pay a couple dollars for your LLC, maybe $100, or do your research and seeing how to get your LLC. But you will need it to start your own notary business and have your business cards. Once again, um, put your information on the Google business page. Oh, another thing too is about your promissory note. Make sure that the date is before the closing. For example, let's say the closing date is September 1st, but promissory note date should be August 30th or August 31st, not September 2nd. If it's September 2nd, please don't sign. You call the escrow officer, call the lender, ask them what they want you to do. If they say don't worry about it, don't worry about it. If they say to cross out the date and put September, the current date, either September 1st or August 31st, you do as instructed. You're in browser, and well, I keep saying in browser. I'm in browser now. The escrow officer and your lender, they're your supervisor. Also know about wish to cancel and right to cancel. Know about consent, contingency. Know about deed to trust. That's a pink slip of your home. Know about the loan estimate, and the closing disclosure. Know about those terms too. But with the uh, right to cancel, wish to cancel, right to cancel is knowing your canceling right as a buyer, that you have 3 business days to cancel the, the property after you sign everything. If the property is not for you, if you look over the property, your home, and if it wasn't what it cracked up to be, you could cancel within 72 hours. Now the wish no, the risk to cancel is canceling within 3 days. Now, the right to cancel is knowing you're canceling right. You got to know the difference between those two, because the buyer might say, "What does this mean?" They seem like the same thing. Why do I have to sign twice? I'm not signing twice. Call your lender, call your escrow officer. So that's why I say you have to know about these terms and know to differentiate between the two terms, even though they sound similar, but there's a difference. You have to know the difference so you can distinguish and explain to the buyer. And another thing too, you're the middle person. The escrow officer and the lender did explain to the buyer. You tell them the what, not the how or why. You understand? But if they ask you, you give them a little sentence. Don't volunteer and give them extra information where they make it confusing for you, or they make it confusing for them where to say, "What do you mean by this? I don't understand." When they're about to sign something, then that delays the process. Then it could turn an hour long sign to a 2 hour, 2.5 long hours sign. So always stick with asking the question that's being asked, similar to a multiple choice question test. Go for what the question is asked. Don't volunteer extra information because that's more work for yourself. Another thing too is if you are starting brand new or if you are new to the notary world, I recommend that you start part time, because if you start full time, then you might be overwhelmed. Full time is overtime to me, which equal over being overwhelmed. That's correct. Therefore, start part time for a couple months, 3 to 6 months. See if you get a feel for it. See if this is something that you want to do for 20, 30 years, for as long as you want to. If it is, then you could up the ante and do full time. And that's the beauty thing about notary, about open up your own business, about being your own entrepreneur. You could go by your own schedule. You could be your own supervisor. Therefore, if you get used to the notary, you start adapting to the terminology, you start adapting to the schedule, because sometimes you have to do 4 or 5 closings a day. But if you can handle that workload, uh, then by all means go full time. Now, even though part time, you don't have to do those 4 or 5 sessions in one day too. You could do 1 or 2 closings and see if it's up your alley. You understand? You're just testing the waters, so to speak. Because here's the thing: if you get used to the notary part time and you uh, ready to do the full time load, you can make upward to $1 million a year. There was the news on the Notary Association where it was 2 people who had made a revenue of $1 million. Excuse me, $1 million a year. It's anything's possible. It's similar to, in other words, you could be very skilled and gifted at notary where you can make realtor money. That's what I'm saying. So that's why I know the notary terms and some realtor terms too. Therefore, you can make as much money as a realtor, if not more money than a realtor, where you can receive up to 100 job offers a month. And that adds up, my ladies and gentlemen. That adds up, my kings and queens. So what I recommend that you do too is start out part time, and you can mix it up with your full time job. Uh, for example, you may work 9 or 10 hours out of 9 or 10 months out of the year, 10 months out of the year, but then you may have a 1 or 2 month break. And during those 1 or 2 months, you don't get paid. But then the notary can supplement, can replicate, or replace you going unemployed for the 1 or 2 months, where you could get paid all year around and still go on vacation if you want to. So that's why I say to start out of full time. I mean part time. Excuse me. Another thing I want you to keep in mind is not to let, I said it a little bit earlier in the video, but don't let the sign and service take advantage of you because they know that you're hungry and you're ambitious and you'll take anything, especially if you have a hard time receiving assignments. They'll let them say, "Oh, do this Hello Lock session for me. It's just 150 pages." So you do the math. What I kept on telling you, the Hello Lock uh, is more than 50 or 60 pages. See, because even if they pay you $125, $150, they'll let them uh, lowball you or overwork you and store it to you because that won't be fair to you. In other words, it is you can't put a price on people who take advantage of you or lying and getting over on you. There's really no justification in that. You understand? Even if you knew to, please don't let you play the game as a rookie, but please don't let people push be call you a pushover or walk over you. You're not a sucker or anything. You're too smart for that. And another thing too is please don't let people, if you're at their house, don't let them make you pick up stuff, especially if you're a big, strong man or woman. You could respectfully say this is not my job description. My job description is to go over paperwork, not pick up furniture. But that's very rare. But you never know. 1% of the population might try you, or 1% of people might try you. Say, if you don't mind, can you pick up this chair? Not even, please don't lift not even a finger of a chair or table. You understand? Not trying to sound Betty with a P, but you're not there for any of that stuff. And it's rare, but they may have loan signing sessions outside, and you might even get have loan sessions in your car, and you could turn your car into an office. That's another thing. I know people say, "How you could turn your car into an office?" You could have your scanner, you can have your portable scanner, your portable printer, you can have all the paperwork, you have the business cards, you could have everything that you need. I just recommend that you be prepared for anything. You never know what might happen. Once again, use discernment too. Now, if it's elderly people and you want to be nice and respectful, if they ask you to pick up a light table, a lightweight table, a lightweight chair, you may do so. But after that, nothing else. You understand? So if you want to be a little kind and kind hearted, you can with the elderly people or with kids or pregnant lady. But don't let them use you or take advantage of you too. So use your discretion, use your discernment, use your protocol. In other words, don't let one nice thing that you did turn into two or three things that you did. You understand? So read the room, test the waters, see what happens. But if you still don't want to pick up the table and chair too, that's fine too. That's you're right. You're not obligated to pick up chairs or tables too. Don't make them. Don't let the people make you guilt trip you, whether it's an older person or elderly lady or kids. Don't let them manipulate you and say you're supposed to be my notary. You're supposed to work for me. I'm supposed to be your supervisor. They'll let them use those tactics. You understand? So it's your call. Especially when you knew they'll try anything. They'll treat you worse than a teacher of the day or a substitute. Anybody. Be nice, respectful, kind, polite, courteous, but don't be naive and gullible either. As a new up and coming signing agent, notary. And I think I said this before, it's worth saying again. Please save at least $1,000 in your bank for your expenses. You want to pay for gas, you pay for equipment such as printer, fax machine, scanning machine, your paper, your tuner, your cartridge, your LLC, your EO insurance, headshot if you decide to do the headshot. It's a plethora of things that you might have to pay for. And I know it may seem like a bill at first, but you're paying it forward and you are making an investment. You have to spend money to make money. Another thing I forgot to tell you too is make sure you have a checklist of or uh, the paperwork you went over with your client. Have a checklist of the Hello Lock uh, sign in, the reverse mortgage, the um, refinance, the buyer's package, the seller package. You have a checklist. You could create that on your own. So you could go through the list of all the paperwork you went through. And this will help you not to overlook and forget important documents that you didn't go over with your buyer or seller. I recommend that you have the checklist for your loan mark signage. You use this for real signage. The checklist that you could create of how many pages and the types of documents to go over too. And this will help you to be at bay and alert and prepare for any documents that the escrow or lender might throw at you. Another thing too is take a picture of the buyer's license or ID on a blank sheet of paper or the background. Let the background be simple. So it could be professional looking because the lender or escrow officer might say, "Did you take a picture of the buyer ID?" That's just proof that you went over the proper protocol and the paperwork needed to make this loan signing a successful one. Another basic tips to go over as a notary signing agent too. You can have things for the kids to do, word search puzzles, crossword puzzles, coloring pages. If the buyer have 2 or 3 kids, especially if it's going to be a long closing session with the refinance, the reverse mortgage, or the purchase mortgage, you can have activities for the kids to do. And if the uh, buyer or the borrower want to give you gifts, you can accept the gifts. But if it's money, maybe turn them down too, so you won't see that you are greedy. You can say no, thank you. But then if they insist on you having the money, then you could take it eventually as the last resort. But please don't expect anything in return. Uh, your job is to get them the best quality of service possible, and your payment is from the escrow officer, the title company, and the signing services, not really the borrower or the buyer, because then you'll get greedy. I don't want you to get greedy. They could them saying thank you. That's your payment. Even if they don't say thank you, you getting the closing session out the way. That's your payment. That's your tip. That's your incentive. It's getting out the way, especially the first one. Especially if you start off with a refinance, uh, a reverse mortgage, or a purchase package. As long as you get out the way, that's your tip. When you drop off your FedEx full of the documents, you could take a picture, you could record the date, the time, and when you drop off the FedEx, because that would be your proof, that would be your receipt. Um, Try to give the FedEx to the postal workers. Let it be somebody who works at the post office who's present. But if you have to, if you crunch for time and you have to leave the FedEx envelope on the shelf as last resort, then so be it. Or you could call the escrow officer, the lender, they say just to leave it. Then you follow their protocol. You follow their instructions. But once again, take a picture, record, because that will be your proof. That will be your receipt that you tried your best to leave it to somebody, a witness, but nobody was available, and you had to go to your next closing. And final basic tips is, if you knew to leave a good impression, be dressed up, smell appropriate, smell healthy, have proper hygiene, be on time, maybe even be a couple minutes early. If the session is at 12 p.m., maybe arrive at 11:30, 11:45, so you can have your paperwork in order, so you could be on the go. So you could dot your I's, cross your T's, and be on your toes. Make sure you look through all the paperwork to make sure that the borrower, the seller signs everything, because they'll make you go back. The lender extra court officer will make you go back if you get one document that was supposed to be signed but wasn't signed. So you got to look through all the paperwork, double check, triple check. Remember, this is where you can use the 3-7-10 technique. Check at least 3 times, 7 times, or 10 times. Check 3 times to make sure that everything is signed. 7 times when you're dropping off the FedEx. 10 times if you're scanning the scan back or the scan box. The scan back or scan bag. Don't be afraid to ask a lender or escrow officer questions if it's something that you don't understand, if it's something that's confusing. Don't care they get upset or frustrated, because you have to know, because this is a lot of money involved. This is your future. This is your investment. This is the guess. This is the clients' money, their lives, their future, their investment of them getting their property. You want things to go as smoothly as possible. You don't want that, no headaches, no hiccups, no emergencies whatsoever. Try to make an account of all the items you purchase, so they can be taxable. You can use them on your tax for next year. Try to have a journal of everything that you spend to the T, or almost to the T. I think that's all for now. I'll probably make more videos about how to be successful notaries, signing agent. But that's all for now. Thanks for listening. Please have a blessed day. See you later. Stay blessed. God bless. I will talk to you later. God bless.